Well, welcome to another episode of Out of the Blank podcast. I'm here with Danny.
Hello, how are you doing?
Danny, sweet Danny boy. That's a song,
Pipes of
right? I'm pretty
Heart
sure.
Calling is a song that's hounded me my entire life.
Oh, so wait, that wasn't the first time someone said that to you?
No, it's one of those songs that no matter where I go, the first time I mention my name to someone, that is the response I get. They sing that song to me, and I love it. There's far worse songs. I could be called Jolene. It could be far worse.
I'm trying to think of a song with like a really good name to it. You just said Jolene, which was the one and I have to think of another one. Hang on.
I used to work with a Jolene and I was guilty of it. And she just looked at me and was like, everyone does it. And I thought, okay, still, it's your name.
Imagine if your name was like Old Town Road, and then people would have to sing that. That would be a terrible name for a person.
It would be.
Oh,
I mean, I'm sure like my surname could be Town Road or something. And yeah, there's a nickname that could come there. As long as they didn't do the dance, I'd be fine.
you could make Old Town Road sound pretty dirty too. Like, oh, that's Old Town Road. They get driven on a lot. You're like, wow.
Yeah. The worst possible nickname you could have. It's the old about it that makes it worse. Like they're used up.
It's either bad or good, depending on your gender. If you're a guy and you say old, then it's like they seem wise. Like, that's Old Paps. And you're like, whoa, Old Paps is awesome. He buys all the underage kids beer, then also likes to wrestle a lot. And it's really uncomfortable because he's always rubs butter on himself. It like turns to this whole thing.
I actually had a acquaintance like that when I was at university. Who we'd always go to the club, and we named him Michael Ryder, and he was old Mike, and it was weird.
Michael Ryder sounds like either a fake double agent or a supervillain in any movie ever.
It does. Like it's one of those ones that 100%. You hear his name and you think, oh, that's going to be cool. And then you meet him and he's this old guy in a waistcoat out clubbing with this like big shaggy beard. So
that's
and he's old Mike.
That's a good theory to go on. If you name your kid something, do you feel like the name turns them into who they're going to be in the world? Like you can't have a dull name and then be an amazing person.
I think this is it. Like working as a teacher as well, names stick. And you might talk with a partner and be like, what name would you like to name our future kids? And you're like, I don't have a name I'd like, but I can tell you names I would never consider because I used to teach a kid with that name.
Oh, that's what my teacher said when I had her on my podcast. She goes, I would never name a kid Robbie because of you. I was like, you had me in third grade. How bad was I? This is like 20 years later.
There are some names that stick. There are some names that I used to love. I used to really like the name Harrison. I thought it was a great name. Took way too many Harrisons to disprove that idea.
I'm trying to think of like a good name I'd want to give my kid where they wouldn't be made fun of with it. Because some kids find some like good twists on names. Like I remember there's this person that goes to my gym. He's a really cool guy. And I asked him what his name was. And he goes, they call me Dick. I'm like, dude, your name is Dick? And he's like, yeah, but I usually go by Rich. Just because people like made fun of me in school for it. And he's like, dude, he's in his like 80s, but he bench presses like 3 plates on each side, which is like 200 something pounds. So I'm like,
amazing.
You're ripped. He goes, I wasn't always like this. I got made fun of a lot. So I just started lifting. And I was like, well, it's nice to meet you, Rich. He's like, call me Dick. I'm like, I thought that pissed you off. And he goes, no. I embrace it now. I'm like, okay, nice to meet you, Dick. And then
wasn't there a celebrity called Richard Butkiss?
Oh, that's a terrible one too, man.
It is. It's a terrible name, but I feel like that's a name that's cropped up. It might be like a joke name from like Friends or something, but there was a Richard Butkiss. And I just remember laughing and thinking, oh, his parents hated them.
Is that the bullshit like prank call where it's like, hey, it's Long Johnson? And you're like, is there a Long Johnson here?
Possibly. I watched a lot of The Simpsons growing up, Bart's prank calls are great, but it's like there's an episode I think where they're coming out with the origin of like Bart's name, and Homer does the exact same thing. You got to be worried because what if kids make fun of them? And you're like, yeah, it's true. You really do have to think about what other people are going to say about the name you give this child for the rest of their life.
Yeah, like you can't name your kid like something hippy dippy now. Like a lot of hipsters or millennials would name their kid like, "Are you gonna call your kid Boba Tea?" I mean, honestly, that now that I say it out loud, it actually sounds really, really good. Like half Star Wars, half like nutritional drink that helps you go to sleep.
Yeah. And the great thing is it's like the first name is Boba and the middle name, it's just an initial, it's just T. You don't have to say what the T stands for. You're onto something with that one.
Okay, but wouldn't that be copying off Ice-T? Next thing you know, my kid's at the age 7 getting a freaking letter in the mail telling him he's being sued for taking Ice-T's nickname.
I don't know. I think, there are parents who are naming their kids after Game of Thrones characters. There's like Daenerys is a great name, but will it be a great name in 10 years?
I've never seen Game of Thrones, but I don't know why you'd name your kid after a TV show.
No, like it just you're inviting it to bite you on the ass, like in the future. There's a celebrity who named their kid hashtag, and I can't for the life of me remember who.
We're missing the biggest one here, Northwest or whatever her name is, the baby that was born between Kim Kardashian and Kanye. I was like, what?
North is, I mean, yeah, I remember the memes when that happened, and that was a beautiful time to be on the internet. Everyone like, what are they going to name their child?
It's exceptional when you're famous. It's okay. Like if you're The Rock and you name your kid like Little Pebble or something, that's fine. But if you're a normal person and your parents haven't done jack shit, you don't get a cool name like that at all.
No, you love to raise the stakes with a cool name, but it's never going to happen if you're just a regular Joe.
Imagine being a teacher and being like, your name is, let's find an astronomical sign to name after. Your name is Taurus, but your dad's a taxidermist. What the like? There's no, you just don't. It just doesn't happen. You don't. You're a Pisces. What is your dad or mom a swimmer, or do they do anything that happens to do with the water? Like, why would they name you Pisces? Well, my dad was eating a can of tuna when I was born, and you're like, so you're just boring. You're just boring.
It's the most, I think there's a lot of pressure on naming people. Naming anything is difficult. Like, but when you are just going to have a normal life, I think you've just got to keep it as simple as possible.
Name them something badass. If you can name your dog anything, like I always thought it was weird when people would name their animals normal names. I'm like, you have the opportunity to literally give this thing any name you wanted to have.
Yeah.
Like I named Thor, Atlas, something big and badass. But then they're like, this is Joe. He's your schnauzer. I'm like, Joe sounds bland.
I was walking my partner's mum's dog a few weeks ago, and we met another couple who had a dog. His name was Kevin. And she had to shout after the dog to come back. And it just sounded like that scene in Home Alone where the mum realizes she's left Kevin behind. I just thought, you can't name it. It's such a boring name anyway. And anytime you're going to have to shout after the dog, you're going to sound like this mum from Home Alone.
The best name I can ever say is the perfect example would be, there's this lady I work with, her name is Dawn, and she had named her cat Stains. So whenever she lost her cat, she would yell out onto the street like, "Come Stains! Come Stains!" And it was like, imagine being her neighbor and just see a woman like, she has no teeth in, just walks out in her bathrobe and is screaming at like 4:00 in the morning, "Come Stains. Come Stains."
Oh, the first time that would happen, you would be so embarrassed. But as that continues, you'd get your cup of tea in the morning, you just sit outside and you'd watch, ready to start your day on that high.
I'm waiting for someone to start naming their kid after acronyms, because you're like, you'd be so embarrassed. I'm like, what is embarrassment really? Because they always said fear was pain leaving the body. So I'm like, I don't want to see a kid. What's your name? They call me Fear. You're like, whoa, that's dark and mysterious. Why do they call you fear? Because it's false evidence appearing real. And you're like, oh, your parents are just assholes. That's what it was.
It's a matter of time before we get a YOLO. There will be a kid somewhere out there who is called YOLO.
Did that
And
die though? YOLO's like dead.
When is a meme ever dead? Like somebody will bring it back. Somebody will be like, yeah, dude, I'm going to bring YOLO back. I'm going to name my child YOLO.
I'm just happy they don't have like the come at me bro t-shirts anymore. Because I feel like in the times that are going on today with all the stress in the world, you might actually get swung on. Like that's a legit thing that might actually happen to you.
Yeah. And knowing the way the world's working right now, they'd be like, look at his t-shirt. He was wearing that. It was an invite. He asked for it.
I miss the days of make me a sandwich. That was the best thing ever until you said it to like maybe a lady friend and then they slapped the living shit out of you. I had that happen once and I was done saying that word.
But that's the thing. There's no accountability nowadays. Like all these keyboard warriors who think they can type it and then they don't have the balls to say it to someone in person and get called out for it. And then it's like, oh yeah, I'm never going to do that again.
The worst is when you see someone say something and then like you type out this full like paragraph and then you stop and go, wait a minute, why are they getting upset over something? They don't have to type this out. They're just voicing their opinion. But then you're like, wait a minute, then I'm doing the same exact thing. So you just delete everything you spent like an hour in your head crafting out as like a good message back.
But sometimes that's so therapeutic. Like if somebody annoys you, just type an email and never send it. And you get the anger out from typing this email, knowing it'll never see the light of day. And you go back to it 24 hours later, you delete it, but it's cathartic because you had that rant, you had that go at this person, and they can let it go.
I did a social media cleanse where I was like, I need to get off social media for a little while and take a break and just reconnect with who I am as a person.
Yeah.
Well, I deleted every app, but I was still getting the email notifications, everything. So I spent one full day taking off everything notification wise. I'm having a cookout. I'm inviting you on Facebook. Well, fucking text me. I'm sorry. I'm not going to put interested going maybe on the page that you created for an event that's going to happen one day out of the whole entire year. I'm just like, come on, man. Like, I don't want to like the page. I don't want to reminder this event's coming up. I'm like, I didn't even sign up for my high school reunion. Why am I getting an invite to this?
The only thing that I have ever found useful for Facebook is the notifications. It's someone's birthday. I think, oh, I forgot about that. I can send them a message or I can write them a text or send them a card.
I had a family member's birthday happen and I was like, this is perfect. I forgot. And the next thing you know, they weren't that close. Let's just say that.
No, but it is like there are so many people that I have those notifications. It's their birthday. I think I've not spoken to them in about 6 years. Shall I send them a message? I don't know. And then it is the important people, and you're like, oh, I forgot it was your birthday. Damn you, Facebook. Why didn't you give me 2 weeks notification? You can't. You want it both ways.
I had someone delete like most of their friend list and be like, I'm only keeping the people that I actually talk to, and the ones that don't just wish me a happy birthday, like when it comes that one day a year, don't like anything else, like any of my posts, just wish me a happy birthday. It's like I'm deleting everybody that does that because it doesn't make sense to have you here if we don't talk. It's like what we came across the store one time and we bonded over the bag of chips that were in the store. It's like I don't ever have the need to talk to you ever again.
Well, there's that system as well, isn't it? That you get rid of things that don't bring you happiness anymore. And you go through and you think about what it is you're looking at and interacting with and thinking, do I use this? Does it bring me happiness? Does it spark joy in me? And you've got to do that with like people as well sometimes. Like there's so many people that I have on my Facebook or my Instagram that I haven't spoken to since the day I met them and thought it'd be a great idea to add their phone number and put everything on social media. And I'm like, I don't actually need this Instagram account anymore. Like there's only the kids I teach are all about how many followers they have. And they're like, I've got 44.9k followers. And I'm like, you don't even know half of them. What's the point? How is that like prestigious?
Yeah, there are some where it's like if you see them like unfollow you or something, you're like, wow, I thought we were like close. And then you realize, no, it's not how it is. They're just like, wait a minute, you don't like any of my photos. That's a weird thing is social media on that aspect. But like
Yeah,
cleaning out stuff. I do that with I just did that the other day in my garage. I was looking through all my old stuff and I was like, what do I need? Let me tell you, my Yu-Gi-Oh cards, my Pokemon cards, any of that
yeah.
old nostalgia stuff, I'm keeping that. I don't even care if I touch it. If it's just sitting in the garage, just taking up space, nope. Well, we need to put a freezer in the garage in case this new lockdown gets really bad. We have to make sure we have food stocked up for our survival. I'm like, fuck that. You're
Yeah.
not taking away that's my Yu-Gi-Oh card spot. No, find that somewhere else for the freezer or don't get one. But don't you want to survive during the next upcoming wave of the impending apocalypse? Not really, because I have a blue eyes white dragon and I cherish that more than I cherish my own life or yours.
Besides, if we go into a second lockdown, Yu-Gi-Oh cards are going to keep us sane. We can actually interact with people face to face and play these Yu-Gi-Oh cards.
That's what I'm saying. Imagine the biggest fear of people isn't the virus, it's playing Monopoly with your own family or realizing how boring the people in your house actually are.
Oh, and you have nothing left to say. Like, I was lucky that I moved into my new flat just before the first lockdown in the UK was announced. Like, we moved on the Saturday, and then on the Wednesday it was announced like the UK is going into lockdown. So it's like, way, thank the Lord we did that. But getting rid of so much stuff, I found calendars from the year 2000 when I was packing, and I thought I have to get rid of that. Like,
You don't really need a new calendar though. That's something you can like keep reusing. Just the date on the top is wrong.
yeah, I had that once. I had an old Quran calendar, and it actually synced up with the year we were in. And I was just, I'm just going to reuse this calendar, and it was perfect. And all my information was already written down, and I didn't have to do anything with it. And I just wonder, why do I hoard this stuff sometimes?
I have a Jessica Simpson calendar and it was like the year before she went batshit nuts. So it was
Oh,
like the good year. So I'm like, oh, and it's funny because it is a car also one. So it's like Jessica Simpson with Goodyear. So it's like it fits. And so I keep that one, but it's like from like 2000 something. So it's like
yeah,
it's way out of date. I just don't write anything on it. Like, people write like, here's the day I'm going to the store. Like they write their schedule down on the calendar so it
yeah,
reminds them. I'm like, how often do you look at that? You have the appointments written down on there, but you have the calendar in your drawer that you never open up. So really you're not using that for anything. You're just trying to find something to do with your life.
yeah. It's just decorations, just a nice little wall ornament, something that brightens up the place. It doesn't need to be anything more than that.
Why I have a bookshelf in my studio right behind me over here. It makes it look like I actually read books. But if you actually look at half of those books in there, they're the dumbest ones. Diary of a Wimpy Kid. I think I got a few Stephen Kings in there for intelligence basis, like to keep the average up. Like you got to have the dumb books and then you got to have the super smart ones to find a
Yeah,
median of like, I'm kind of okay in the middle here. Percy Jackson's in there. Love those. But then there's like the ones I actually read and the ones that are just for show, where someone comes over and goes, you have a biography about Spock and it's signed. I'm like, yeah. And you know where I found it? At a thrift store. And you know how much it was? 5 cents.
perfect. This is it. We're way too like hung up on the impression we give it to people. Like, I've got a few signed wrestling biographies. I've got one from Chris Jericho and I've got one from Lita, and it's awesome. I met these people and they signed their books for me. But they're the sort of books as well that I would put lower down on the bookshelf that I hope people don't notice, because it just seems so lowbrow to have an autobiography of a wrestler on your bookshelf. But why not? It was a fun read, and I like the person. What does it matter? But we're so hung up on how we dress our private lives, just in case people show up and are like judgmentally going around every room of your house and being like, I wonder what this says about them.
Well, it's like this shittiness of like when first impressions mean everything, which kind of suck because it is true. But it's like, what are you going to judge for me from like the first 5 seconds you see me? But that's the same thing you do with someone's place. You just walk in, you go, is my house better than theirs? And you're like looking around. And if you have a bathroom that's only on the second floor and it's not on the first, then I don't like you because that means you have to take stairs to use the restroom. So I'm going to have to sit on this couch and pee myself because I don't feel like using the stairs.
Yeah, it just brings out like a weird green eyed monster side. Like, we always want what we don't have, I guess. And then you compare yourself to other people. And social media makes it horrible when you look at like all these fake Instagram posts, like, look at how great my life is. I'm with my friends in a sunset. And you think, yeah, but that's such a staged moment. Like, how genuinely happy are you behind that facade?
Or you see like the travel ones where they have the jacuzzi on the back porch and they're on like a skyscraper, so the jacuzzi's hanging off like it's glass too, so it looks like you're just swimming in air. That I would never want. I'm sorry. I don't care how cool it looks. I'm afraid of heights, and that looks
Yeah.
like imminent death. If some person just grabbed like an airsoft gun and fired up a hole into your jacuzzi and the whole thing broke, you're falling what, 100 floors? I'm okay with
Yeah.
that.
I went to the Guinness factory a few years ago, and they've got like this 360 viewing tower, and it's great from a distance. But if you want the good picture, you got to go right up to the edge, and because it is windowed from top to bottom, it looks like you could fall. I'm like, no, thank you. I'm happy where I'm standing. I don't need the picture right up against Dublin because I'm scared I might fall irrationally or trip walking up to the window and fall through it somehow.
It happened when I went to the Grand Canyon. There was a bunch of people hanging off the rocks
Yes.
trying to do the thing with the photo. And I was like, why would you risk it just for a couple of likes on Instagram? And they're like, well,
Yeah.
I'm a adrenaline junkie. I'm a danger fool. And I was like, yeah, but you know, you could slip up and die. I'm like, how long until the people at the Grand Canyon, the tour guide service is like, hey, maybe we should build a fucking net because people
Yeah.
are going nuts.
Well, there's the little walkway, isn't there? That's glass.
And it's
On.
it's scary as shit to stand on.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
And I don't, because you have to get like cloth to put on your shoes. Like for me, that just feels like I'm going to be much more slippery and I'm going to fall into the Grand Canyon. Like, no,
It's
thank
so they
you.
don't scratch the glass, but then you look and there's scratches on it. You're like, how did this happen? Did someone just pass through without booties on their shoes? No, it's because people have car keys, people have phones that just drop them from like
Yeah.
6 feet onto the thing and like it just dents it. I'm like, but it's bulletproof glass. I'm like, this is the same concept of having plastic on your furniture. It doesn't make sense. I shouldn't be trying to keep adjusting myself just to stay on the seat while I'm watching Bird Box or some crappy movie Netflix is throwing at me. I'm slipping off the damn furniture.
Yeah. Like sofas are going to break. Give it time and you're going to need to upgrade. Enjoy it whilst you have it. Because otherwise, if you don't use it properly, you'll never enjoy it. And it was a waste of the 500, 600 quid you spent on it. Like, make the most of it.
They used to have these mats that were like Legos for your feet, but it was like a little plastic mat with spikes in it, and it was supposed to keep the dog off certain parts of like the house. Yo, I was a kid and those were hell. I would like
Yeah.
stand, I was like, am I not, you're training me and the dog to never ever enter the house. Like, this is the whole concept here. Like, my
Yeah.
grandparents were like, this is just what we have. I'm just like, and you have the bathtub shower mat, which I understand makes sense so you don't slip and fall, but it's one of those awkward, like uncomfortable, like crappy gray gym ones where you're standing on it and the more you're in the shower, it hurts. And my
Yeah.
grandmom just goes, it's so you don't waste all the water. So you're out after 5 minutes because it's painful. I'm like, wow, like that's smart as hell, but that is really, really mean. Like,
But also, like, one of the most purest of joys is just sometimes you need a long soak in the shower.
yeah, where you
Or
take
maybe
a
just
sit
got,
or something.
yeah, and you've just got like a great playlist, and you know, your Spotify's on, and you happen to have like 4, 5, 6 good songs in a row, and it's what you need. And you're robbing yourself of the small moments in life by thinking, well, we're going to save some money. It's like, okay, but it's worth it for the happiness. Like, I go about the rest of my day in a great mood now because I had 6 great songs in the shower. And sure, I'm a little late, but I'm in a good mood. Who cares?
Gave me a perfect segue into why I really got you on this podcast, because the one thing I can't stand in this world is a fucking musical. And you do a podcast on musicals. So I'm hoping, I like you so far, but I'm hoping you can sway me to try and give musicals a try, because I had a bad interaction, I think halfway through Les Miserables. I came
Yeah.
in literally on like on the cable, just popped in halfway through Les Miserables, and I saw Anne Hathaway screaming and I saw her giant teeth. And eventually
That will do it.
I got sick to my stomach and I was like, I don't care if Hugh Jackman's in this, I'm out.
So I started our podcast very much like you. I don't watch musicals. I haven't been exposed to that many musicals. And my partner, bless her, is in love with musicals. And I think it became a point where she would drop so many references and say, "You don't get it, do you?" And eventually decided that she had to educate me. It was that simple. She had to educate me on musicals. And yeah, we started watching them. And there are some good ones. Like,
How is it good? How is it good? You're saying she educated you. Educate me. What is I get it when it comes to the creative aspect and how much
yeah,
talent maybe gets put into it. That seems like it is a difficult thing, but then I don't feel like music and movies should really mix unless it's like Baby Driver, where it's like the cut scenes have the music playing or something. But singing and then in the movie, like I watched a bad episode of Scrubs where the whole thing was a fucking musical, one of the
oh, I
episodes.
love that episode of
I wanted to
Scrubs.
shoot myself in the head. I have never, if I had that brain injury that that woman was suffering from, I'd want to be killed by like a bus.
I mean, I used to always hate when people just start singing. And then I realized, like, actually, I like singing. As bad as I am at singing, there's nothing better than just singing and cheering yourself up. And musicals present this world where everything can be solved by a 3-minute song and dance number. What isn't to love about that?
Look, I can understand singing in the car and even singing in the shower with a song playing, but like I come across somebody in the store that's just like, "Fly me to the moon." I'm like, you're tossing out Sinatra. Like you are straight up tossing out one of the classics. And it's like there's what are you in the mood for where Sinatra just hits you? Like we're at a Dollar Tree, you are carrying Ritz crackers in your hand and you're just singing "Fly Me to the Moon." I'm not understanding how you got here.
Did he have anything plugged in, or was it literally just
Just thus singing like a tune stuck in the head. And
see this thing that's so pure and just like that's just them making their day a little bit more magical.
but wouldn't you want to sing a song that's more relevant, not one that has nothing to do? Like if it's raining outside, you can sing Temptations. But
Yeah, you can sing like Umbrella or something, but I don't know. The world is such a dark, scary place sometimes. What does it matter if we sing a song to get us through? It's like that whole, we dress our houses up to make it look nice and presentable to strangers whose opinion, like, damn, do we really care? I'm walking down the street, passing people that I'm never going to see in my life again. If I want to sing and cheer myself up, who cares what they think? Like, I think it's such a empowering, wholesome thing that he could just walk around Walmart and sing to himself. Like that is powerful. He doesn't give a damn what anyone else thinks.
I think the example you're thinking of is like an elderly man who's probably at the end of his days that's just trying to find some joy in life. I'm picturing like the 30-year-old woman who has a Starbucks drink in her hand who's not caring about the consistency or just the responsibility of being in a store with others around her. Like a kid on a phone playing a video game at a really high volume. It's like, this is a public area. I don't want to hear you sing Old Town fucking Road while I'm purchasing a Slim
Depend on
Jim.
the it does depend on the song. Like you say, if it's Old Town Road, I've heard that enough. But it might be like I just walk down and I'm suddenly hearing the final countdown, and I'm thinking I need to rewatch Arrested Development. It just
There is some songs where like if you catch somebody singing it, another person will finish the lyric to it.
yeah.
It's pretty interesting. Like somebody just walks out of a store and goes banana na 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 na. Yeah,
Yeah.
see?
Or you get Toto, like somebody will be going around singing Africa and you will just have to sing along. And then you've got a real life musical. That music is spreading.
As long as it's not Land Down Under, I'm literally tired of hearing that song.
Oh yeah. I mean, there are some songs that I would be very happy if I never heard them again. Old Town Road is up there. Call Me Maybe Once Upon a Time was up there.
Yo, I was gonna say that because I worked at a water park when I was like 14, and the area where I was working as like jumping in, grabbing like pool inner tubes and throwing them out, they had a radio speaker that played the same top hits over and over again. And Call Me Maybe was a song that was drilled into my head. That and then the song Tonight. I'm like, okay, I never want to hear those songs again. But then at my work, we play music in the air, like in the facility. and those songs pop on, and I actually start tapping my toe to it. Like, why did I ever hate this song so much? But then after like the fifth play, I'm like, I fucking know why now.
Yeah, yeah. Like someone that I used to know hated that when it first came out, and then it dropped off the face of the planet, and I was happy. And then it just came on randomly. I thought, oh, this is a good song actually. Like I missed it. Put it on my Spotify playlist, and within a month, I'm sick of it again. Like sometimes it is just like absence makes the heart grow fonder, and we get nostalgic for the better times. And then you're like, oh yeah, no, this sucked though. Objectively, this was a crap song.
So now, are you only watching musicals through movies, or are you actually going to these performances? Because I feel like I might enjoy it if I went to. Honestly, no, I don't think I could see that with orchestras. Like I can understand where I would enjoy that. Just watching it play, it seems like that's a really crazy craft. You have to really get down. But for musicals, I just can't get past the singing in a movie. To me, that's just
There's certainly something for it when you're there in person. So, like as a teacher, I've directed a few musicals because that's what the kids want to do, and we get a chance to go and see a lot of live theatre. In this year, obviously, it's not quite been the same, but we did get a chance a few weeks ago to go to London and see a live piece of theatre, and it was just beautiful. Like you had the last 5 years, and it was a show of two people, and you had the orchestra hidden away, and it was just beautiful. And to be a part of something like that again, I think when you're there in person, you just appreciate it more. Like Les Mis, I like the film, but objectively it is not a good adaptation of the source material.
okay.
Because
You're
you get the,
about to say you're in my wheelhouse here because you add the
yeah,
but, and that helps because I feel like a lot of times somebody talks about something they love, they never talk about the real flaws. They're kind of blinded by the truth on some things.
yeah,
You have to, when you go to a musical, you can't just be like, we're going to a musical, and the person's like, I don't want to fucking go to a musical. You can't do that because then that person will never enjoy it. You have to make sure that you're both confined, like, hey,
yes,
you have to give it a try. And the first time I want you to experience this is in a movie and not halfway through Anne Hathaway realizing she has horse mouth. I'm
yeah.
just saying, I love her to death. I think she's a good impersonation of Catwoman for sure.
Oh,
Amazing.
she's great in Dark Knight Rises,
But
but
Jesus, man, the musical.
I think Lame is the sound editing is bad anyway because they tried to do it live. So they're actually filming them singing it live, and they've changed the tempo of the songs. Like they really butchered the musical for the film. There's also like when you see it in person, like the solutions to locations and set changes, like you've got all this amazing like wizardry in front of you that it's not solved by CGI. It's people working hard to make it look believable. So you get sucked into the atmosphere of the live theater. And then when you've got other people, hopefully like polite people who aren't like eating sweets in wrappers, and you get the applause and you get this camaraderie. It's musicals are better in person, without a doubt.
My brain always keeps going to the concept of watching a musical, and it goes, do you ever think that they're not playing the music while the person is singing, so it's just awkward like singing? Like how do you find the note and the key? Because it's got to all be edited in post unless they're playing it like in the background, they just mute that.
I think, yeah, some of the films, it is, I mean, I don't know how much about how they work with the movies, but I'd imagine that the majority of them, in my mind, it is all done in post, that they would edit the soundtrack and then they'd mime. I think they did that with Mamma Mia. I'm not 100% certain, but I think they did that with Mamma Mia, where they recorded the songs and then they maybe lip synced them. Mamma Mia is probably a bad example, but a lot of the films they do try and do live, and then they add in some of the other. Into the Woods, I think they had the orchestra playing at the same time as the actors.
Like Quincy Jones in the background. I'm
And
trying.
what the best thing for me has been watching these musicals and then like understanding Family Guy references or American Dad references, and going back and watching like old episodes of that and thinking, that's a Singing in the Rain reference. That's pretty cool. Like, I think for me, it's seeing where these musicals have influenced things that I like. And it makes me like it more because I'm watching going, I get that reference. I'm like Captain America in Winter Soldier and Avengers. Like, I get that reference.
I look at one musical in particular, which was it's a Disney movie. I don't know if you'd consider it a musical, but it would have been horrible, and I mean a scarring to children if they didn't turn it into a musical. And that is The Nightmare Before Christmas. Because if you're
Oh,
watching
yeah,
that and it's not singing like they're doing, that would be a movie that would scar so many kids, like a Rob Zombie flick. But they turned
yeah,
it into a musical, and it lost all sense of like fear or creepiness to it. Somehow it seems kind of pleasant. And it's considered
yeah.
a
The
Christmas
world.
film.
We actually had that debate on our Twitter that I'm firmly it's a Christmas film. I will watch it, the final 5 days before Christmas to get myself in the mood. But there's a lot of people out there who think it's a Halloween film, and I'm like, well, it starts at Halloween, sure, but the bulk of the action takes place leading up to Christmas. It's a Christmas film, and you're right. Like, I know that my mum didn't let me watch it until I was about 12 because she thought I'd be freaked out by it, and it is quite a scary film. The character design is great. You got that killer clown under the stairs, and Oogie Boogie is terrifying. But because they've added songs and dancing, and it's just a magical story.
Yeah, I had to relook through all my Disney stuff after that. I was like, what Disney movies did I watch as a kid that had songs in it? A lot of, basically all of
Yeah,
them. I mean, I
they
don't
are
want
mini.
to, I kind of called this before it happened, but I think that the movie, what is it, Tangled with the long hair, Rapunzel,
Yeah,
that predicted coronavirus because the town she lived in was called the town of Corona. So I was like, oh
yeah,
my God, this is insane. But like Hercules was one of my favorite Disney movies. There's a
yeah,
lot of singing in that.
yeah. I would say they're all Broadway musicals. The majority of the Disney films are all done by Alan Menken, with a few exceptions, especially in recent years. But he wrote Newsies, which is a great Broadway show. He contributed to Little Shop of Horrors, which is an amazing musical. He's helped make Sister Act, the film turned it into a musical. It is a really great, talented team behind a lot of the golden Renaissance Disney films that are still working to make musicals today. And he's such an incredible songwriter and musician.
Don't give him any hints. See her whispering over to you. When it comes to the idea of maybe somebody wanting to try it for the first time, like for me, would you say I should go experience it? Because I just feel like my attention span's too short to actually try and watch the film.
I think 100%, if you have the opportunity to go to a theatre and see it live, there's something magical about it, because the movies, it's so fake and artificial. Nowadays they can CGI anything. Les Mis, they use the same set as Harry Potter, I think, for one of the scenes. Like, they've got Diagon Alley, and it's just like, it's not authentic. Whereas when you go on stage, you see how they turn it into something spectacular. Les Mis used to have this beautiful revolve that the stage would show you one thing and it would just turn in front of you into another stage. And you just got so caught up in that moment that you forgot everything else that was going on. It was just magical, because how do people do this in front of you? Films, you can imagine that they stop and they reshoot and they stop and they reshoot until they get it right. But how do you do that? The amount of time and effort it takes to practice something to get so perfect in front of you.
Then
The
add
other
ice
thing,
skating on top of that, like Disney
yeah,
on Ice. I was like, Jesus, like, you know how hard it is for me to like brush my teeth and hair at the same time?
oh yeah,
Imagine trying to sing and dance on ice. Like I can't even ice skate normal.
no, it's terrifying. I always got scared that, like, I'd trip and the blades would slice off my fingers. But you've also got to play to something that you're going to like. If you like comedy, find a musical that's comedic in tone, like Book of Mormon. Find something that fits your likes and dislikes anyway. If you're not a fan of horror, I wouldn't say go watch a horror film. Don't go watch a musical that's scary. Find something that fits your strengths.
I'm stuck on the fact that you were afraid that your fingers were going to get chopped off by ice skates. Because
Yeah, I know.
somebody told me that when I was a kid. So that's like fake news, like candy's like poisoned or something that parents just told their kids.
It's such an irrational fear, though, isn't it? Like, that I've been ice skating. The blades are dull as anything. They're maybe gonna like cause a little cut, but they're not going to take my fingers off. But it's just such an irrational fear. Like you see how sharp some of these blades are. You think, yep, I don't want to do that.
Like Blades of Glory, where they throw the girl up into the air and slice her
Yeah.
head off.
Oh yeah, yeah. Blades of Glory set me back on ice skating years.
See, I wish they would bring back roller rinks.
Yeah, we don't get those, unfortunately.
I wasn't good at them, but I feel like now I would be okay and I could manage my aggression better where I could just push people out of the way like they used to back in the day. Like you would just be holding hands with somebody and roller skating, and then someone
Yeah.
would just go right through you. And you're like, what the hell? But the dude was so much better than you, so you couldn't get pissed off and fight him. You had to let that dude just skate backwards away from you. And you're like, you suck.
Yeah, because they take it so seriously. You think you spent every single day of your life here at the roller rink. And you look at them and you think, yeah, I'm not even going to get in a fight because it'll end up in some kind of dance off, and I can't compete with that.
Like you're in their element. And then you just wait till they take the skates off or have to go to the bathroom, and that's when you get them.
Yeah, you're like, now, welcome to my turf, welcome to my territory.
Now, give me a musical you hate, because I feel like that should be the one I should go see first. So I know that this is the lowest of the low, and it's only better from here.
I did not like Rent. I thought Rent was bad.
I thought you were going to toss out like Cats. I heard that was terrible.
As an experience, Cats the film is a train wreck, but it's kind of like you can't stop watching. Like you're kind of like, I've got to watch this. What's going on? It's magnificent, and it is bad. But Cats was always going to be bad. It's based on a set of poems that have no plot. And if I'm going to watch something for 2.5 hours, I want plot. Cats isn't going to give it to you. But Rent tries to have a plot, and it's just bad.
Is there any movies you think would be good films to be in a musical, or any movies that you think would be the worst? Like in my mind, I'm thinking, imagine if they made like 300 on Ice, where they're like singing and dancing, would probably be the worst thing in the world.
I really would like to make Home Alone the musical a reality. I think Home Alone has such tremendous musical potential.
Like revamp Macaulay Culkin?
Yeah, like 100%. And you get like the wet banners, and you get like a circus on the stage as well. So you get these really great songs as you get the slapstick. I think that would be beautiful.
Who's gonna take the hits though? Like you got to look at all those stunts that they performed in there. How would they be able to incorporate that? And who's the actor you're getting to do that? I used to go to the Barnum and Bailey circus when I was a kid.
Yeah.
I saw a man get shot with a cannon.
Yeah, people don't want to do that nowadays. That's the problem. Oh, the worst film to be turned into like a stage musical, like Greatest Showman, because The Greatest Showman is awful. I don't like that world, and I don't want to see more for it. That film set musicals back.
What was the hype about Hamilton?
Hamilton's great. Oh, Hamilton's just fantastic because it isn't. You think musical theatre and you think it's going to be like Anne Hathaway singing in Les Mis, and this is so much better because it's different. Like it's this hip hop R&B, and it's just so much fun to watch. Even if it does take a lot of creative liberties with, the American history of the founding fathers, it's just so much fun to watch. Like
I never trust someone that says something's fantastic, man. It just, my teachers told me too many times, hey, that's fantastic, when it was shit. And I'm like, no, I've been lied to way too much.
That's the problem. Me as a teacher, I have to sell things to kids, even if I don't agree with it. And I've tried to teach mime before and act like mime is the best thing ever. And I'm like, it's so much fun. You're going to have a great time. And I'm like, no, you just want to talk. You want to make noise. You don't want to pretend to like be in a glass cage. Like you've just got to try and sell something. But Hamilton, I had heard all the hype, and I was expecting for it to underwhelm me massively because I had so many friends who've been to see it, luckily, and they said, you're going to love it. And they played the soundtrack, and I just thought, I don't get it. I can't visualize it. And then when I finally saw it, it's one of those stories that you get so connected to these characters to the point of like feeling something at the end. Like it really was a journey. It was a great 3.5 hours as well.
Oh my God. I don't think I wouldn't even watch Endgame because it was like 3.5 hours. I ended up watching it in the bathroom. My legs fell
I
asleep.
went to see it 5 times at the cinema, so I kind
Holy
of
crap!
I had nothing better to do. I used to have one of those cinema cards where, you pay 20 quid a month and you can see as many films as you want. And I thought, well, okay, I'll go see, I was going to go see Avengers anyway because I'm all on the MCU train, and nothing of interest was launched after that film. So I thought, well, I've got to make the most of this money. I'll go watch Avengers again.
You had a
And
damn easy pass for the movies.
yeah, it's such a great investment. Like if you can, after 2 films a month, you're saving money. Like you're laughing at the cinema companies. You're like, haha, give me the free films.
You're like, haha, you have no friends. No, just kidding.
I mean, yeah, that's also true. But like,
I
it's,
would love that, dude. Be able to have a car to go. We don't have that down here. That is not a thing.
no,
I was like, I would abuse that. In one day, I would watch every single movie that was at the theater at that time.
no, but back when I was a lot younger with this card, I'd make Saturdays my cinema day and I'd see 3 films at the cinema and then that was it. And in a month, I've seen 12, 15 films. By the end of the year, I thought, I looked at how much I would have spent on cinema tickets and I'd saved about 300-400 quid. And you just think it's worth it if you go to the cinema. If you're not interested in films, it would be such a waste of your money.
You mentioned a good point I want to go back to is that you said that you listened to the soundtrack and didn't understand it, but then you saw the scenes
Yeah.
and then so the scenes to musicals, like the movies and musical aspect of it, it really can kind of bolster up a song. Like kind of like a music video can kind of change your thoughts on a song,
Yes.
understand the true, because it pulls the real meaning of what the song actually means out
Yeah.
of, because you can't, I mean, hearing it, you make your own interpretation of what they're talking about if they're not describing a place or a thing. But then I guess seeing it probably means a little bit more. Like if someone's singing about needing money or something and you realize they're starving on the street.
Yeah. It's so much easier to visualize it and you actually connect more with it. I used to hate listening to the soundtrack before I'd seen something because I wanted to go into it completely fresh and like unspoiled and make those decisions there and then. But then you listen to something and I'd be like, oh, I love this song. And I would be like, oh, I just can't visualize how they do it. And then when you watch it live, you're like, wow, that was amazing. It's like, you like a band and you listen to their album and you've got tickets to go see them live. And you finally see that song performed live and it just adds so much more life to it because you were there, you were part of it, and it just changes your impression on it completely. There's been songs by bands that I like that I hated until I saw it performed live and it just took on a whole new meaning for me.
It's weird because if you said that I'm going to put the band Kiss in a musical movie or something, I would really sit there and watch and enjoy it because I'm like, that's an actual band, not actors. When it seems like famous actors singing, I'm just like, let's get the musicians to play.
Yeah. And, I think there's a lot of great singers that have also done musicals. So Meatloaf in Rocky Horror Picture Show, he's fantastic and he's one of my favorite singers ever. You've got Tenacious D, who are, a great comedian. But you've got Tenacious D in The Pick of Destiny. To me, that is a movie musical.
That's a musical?
I'd say so. The songs are so vital to the success of that film. Like, even if they're in the background to it, those songs are performed by Jack Black and Kyle Gass. To me, that's a musical.
That's one of my favorite movies. So if that's a musical, maybe I do. I guess I don't like what you would consider the face of musicals when you think of musicals. I like the side ones. Like Tenacious D did such a good job because there was so much more storytelling, but all their songs were included into the thing, but it was so subtle. Like when he's looking in his coffee after he gets in a fight with his friends, like, dude, I totally miss you. I totally miss you. I'm like, yes, that is.
And it's so silly, but it just adds so much to it. Like you open with Kickapoo, this amazing, amazing song. Little baby Jack Black comes out miming to prop adult Jack Black's like voice, and you just think, yeah, this is what I'm here for. I think it has to be defined a musical when the story doesn't work without the songs. And I think Tenacious D in The Pick of Destiny loses so much when you remove the songs. Like watch that film again, take away all the songs, it's dull. It doesn't work. The story is dependent on the music. And it's the same with a lot of these Disney films. Hercules works because of the songs. The Lion King works because of the songs. If you remove the music, you remove the magic.
That was corny, but I liked it.
But it's true. I mean,
I'm
they're
gonna have
amazing.
to relook at some of these musical or movie musicals for the concept of it. I can't get into like the really serious ones, but the ones that are
Yeah,
subtle like that really kind of help out. I think with kids too, like Disney movies, the reason why they played it on so well. I mean, Little Mermaid was probably my least favorite because that movie is kind of all singing,
yeah,
but I mean, it helps you learn some deep lessons through like just like a quick little thing that can get stuck in your head for a couple of days.
exactly. And Aladdin for me was one of the first films I really loved, and part of that is the songs as well. Like it just is such a good, simple, like 3 minute interlude. You can bop to a song and then you go back to watching the film. Like it's a good like circuit breaker.
If I could give you 500 billion pounds or dollars, what would you create as your musical and who would you cast in it?
I do think there's an idea to the Home Alone one, but I think I I would really like I'd like to make Batman a musical a reality. I think a Batman musical. I'm
Why?
teasing.
Why do that to Batman?
No, there were plans for a Batman musical. Jim Steinman was writing one, and then it never happened, and he gave the songs to Meatloaf. It's a
I could
really
see a
good
Star Wars musical, but
Star Wars musical would be amazing, but I think you have to set it in a different story because you can't recast Luke Skywalker or Han Solo. Like we saw what happened with Solo. You've got to have new characters for it, but that would be phenomenal. I don't know. I think I want to go maximum cheese factor. Like I would want it to be so silly, so over the top, like Pokemon the musical. Like it's going to be fun, and then you can do the Detective Pikachu thing with it, and actually have like actually a heart to the film and some quality to it.
yeah, you couldn't like toss out like an X-Men musical. That wouldn't work out.
No, well, there's a Spider-Man musical which was trash. It was written by
The new
YouTube.
Spider-Man's trash anyway. Don't worry about it.
I think, yeah, I'd go with Pokemon the musical. That's what I go with. I'd just embrace the cheese factor, and I'd just get like great songs from the 90s and throw them in there.
Yeah, do
There's
like
somebody who's working on a musical about the life of Princess Diana to the music of Steps.
well, like the sound you that they make when you go up them, like the creaks.
No, there's a great British band from the 90s called Steps, and it's proper like 50s.
I'm sorry, I was picturing somebody going up steps and making the creaks, and that was the sound, and then someone just going, "It's settling, it's settling."
No, I like it when you take real world songs and add them to musicals. Like it's just nice.
They should take a
But
life of the musician, like take the Beatles and turn that into a musical.
oh yeah, like that would be so interesting. Like, and you have because you've got We Will Rock You, which is not about Queen, but using Queen songs. And that's great because it's songs that you know and you love and you're seeing them in a different way. And there's other musicals that are biopics about people. Like you got like Tina Turner the musical as well. Like I think that's the way to do it is tell a story using their songs. The different phases of the Beatles have 2 or 3 songs from each album.
Do like a inside the music, but inside the musical.
Yeah. Oh,
Oh, look at that pun on words.
I like that. That's the way to do it. Beatles, inside the musical would be great.
I would like to learn a little bit more about how they created Octopus's Garden. Like, take me through like a video of their LSD trip that they did when they were writing the song. Like, that would be sick.
And what better way than with their songs as well that they use? Like you could use It's a Hard Day's Night and have them just like on the acid, like change the meaning of that song to tell you how Octopus Garden was made.
I think I thought of Beatles because you tossed out Jack Black and he was in that Dewey Cox movie where he played.
He was,
I am
yeah.
Paul McCartney of the Beatles.
I love that bit. I think Paul Rudd's one of the Beatles as well.
Yeah.
It's so good. I love Dewey Cox. Again, I would say that's a musical because the songs to that are so vital. Like they're fake songs, but are supposed to emulate Johnny Cash. To me, that's a musical.
That's like a parody biography, though, not really a musical.
But the music is so vital to the success of that film.
That's like with sitcoms, though. If you just took the laugh track out of Big Bang Theory, then it's not funny. It's really awkward.
No, because the laugh track to Big Bang Theory is laughing at somebody with autism for their disability. It changes completely because you wouldn't know what to laugh at.
He's an idiot savant.
Yeah, you wouldn't know to laugh at certain points because it's so serious that it changes the genre completely. Like, I don't know, it might be like a horror comedy show, you know, like how long until he kills all these people? Like
So could musicals make Forrest Gump better?
I don't know. I've never seen Forrest Gump all the way through, but
wow,
I know.
Where did you stop?
We were showing it. It was another one for me. Like you said, you got a teacher saying this is fantastic, and I had my teacher was like, Forrest Gump is fantastic. I'm going to watch it, and you're sat there thinking, great, we're watching a movie in lesson time. This isn't real school, and you're like, oh, I'd actually rather be like working from a book instead of watching this film.
Wow, that's going to piss off a lot of people out there.
I like Tom Hanks, but I think Forrest Gump was not very good.
I agree with you on it's not that good of a movie if you think of what it actually is, but I still like the concept. Maybe a musical could improve that.
Possibly. I think sometimes, you know, when you get the breaks, because the great thing about the musicals as well is a song can cover 30 years in 3 minutes. And for Forrest Gump, which is, you know, his whole life, you could cut so much of the bits that aren't necessary in a song and cover it.
Oh man, I don't know how to dig you out of this hole. There's people right now that are writing in like, oh my God, he's shitting on Forrest Gump.
I watched it when I was 12. Maybe I need to watch it again at 30 and think, oh, actually, this is a great film.
The only person that's good in that film is Lieutenant Dan.
It says something when Tom Hanks isn't the person you say is good in that film.
I hate Tom Hanks.
That's like
not with a bad passion as much as I hate Tom Holland, but he's just there's something off about that man. I don't know what it is.
He's too nice. I think he's like the nicest guy in Hollywood. And can anyone be that nice?
Bill Murray.
Yeah. Bill Murray doesn't take himself seriously. Have you ever seen that picture of him holding someone's infant and the infant's crying because it's like a baby and Bill Murray's crying because it's just Bill Murray? And it's great.
There's a video of him where they give him like a martini or something to do for like a photo shoot and he drinks it and he's like, can you get me some actual liquor in this thing? Like he's like, what are we doing here? Like just cracking jokes. I'm like, I like that. Someone that's just like not really trying to be a dick, but that's just classic comedy.
No, I know. And Bill Murray he doesn't give a damn. And it's great because he does what he wants and he's never making another Garfield. So good for him.
It's a shame. I loved Garfield.
Yeah, the comics are good, but that film, poof,
really?
That was
really Garfield? You don't like that film?
No, I really don't. It's not one
Every
I can ever
movie
watch.
I love, people hate. I'm not giving out any movie reviews. I'm going to create my own Instagram where I'm just going to be the film critic and I'm going to give out all these movie reviews and everybody's going to be commenting like, you're crazy. You like that movie? I'm like, yeah. And I hate Tuck Everlasting, whatever that movie is. That movie was filmed in my town. So I don't care. They bought my friend's house to film that movie.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, this is it though. Everything is so subjective. Like one man's Cats is another man's Star Wars.
I freaking hate that they bought his house too. He had a nice house. They were like, hey, we want to film here. Here's enough money to buy off your house and get another one. And they bought another one. I was like, so you're just going to get up and leave because some person from Hollywood buys your house? He goes, yeah.
Who's living in that house after them?
Nobody. Like, it's a memorial thing now. Nobody's living there. That tells you what goes on in my town. Nothing.
Here's one you're like, there is a musical of Tuck Everlasting.
God
So
damn it.
you want to watch a musical that you think you're going to hate, watch the musical of Tuck Everlasting.
I was too pissed off watching Tuck Everlasting. Like, that's my buddy's house. I have urinated in that bathroom. Like, and they're doing, where was the magical well or tree that you guys get to live forever? I didn't see it.
No, because yeah, when you have something that's filmed, there's a film over here called Angus Thumbs and Perfect Snogging, and I'm from Eastbourne originally, which is, you know, Florida of England, I guess, and it's got a neighbouring city called Brighton. And in this film, she goes up an alleyway in Eastbourne and then conjures herself through this magic portal, gets her into this other city straight away. And I watch it thinking, yeah, that's not the same place. That's awful. That's just stupid. And then a lot of people like this film.
If you look in Tuck Everlasting, there is a photo that's on the table that is my buddy's family that they used for the film to help with, like, just, it was, you can't really see the faces on there, but that's their family photo because they left it behind and the director shot the thing and he used it as a prop. Like, he knew it was there, and then he messaged the family about it saying, hey, we used your photo in a film, is that okay? And I guess he wasn't expecting them to say like no or something, so they're like, yeah, that's fine. But there's a photo of, he tells me about this and I'm like, damn, like, imagine saying that, but then you can't get people to actually verify it, so it's just like you're spouting off shit. And he's like, yeah,
No,
dude,
I
it
know.
sucks, man.
Your one claim to fame and people will doubt you.
Yeah,
That's really bad. Like,
he's like 6'2".
yeah, Jesus. I can't believe that they bought, not only bought their house, they bought the rights to their images as well with that, like however much they bought them for. Like, some people get a lot of money for that and they just got money for a house.
Hollywood.
Can't live without them, can't live with them.
Danny, dude, you've given me enough of your time, man. Please promote the podcast where people can find you and your co-host. Hopefully, I know she's back there listening. If she wants to come on, is it? I'm correct in saying it's a she or he?
Yes,
yes.
Okay.
I'm just making sure I wasn't making an assumption.
No. I'm Dan. It's great as we have, you know, very like gendered names. So if you don't know,
I thought
Dan,
you were her. I thought you were her. That's why I was surprised when I saw you. I'm sorry.
So yes, our show is It's a Musical Podcast, where my beautiful partner Drew introduces me to all the musicals that I should have seen by now, and then we talk about them. You can find us on Apple, on Spotify, and most good podcast providers. And yeah, we've got 36, I think, episodes we release every Monday. So there's plenty there to binge in the you know, current climate.
Let's see if she can actually hear me. Drew, did I do good?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I'm keeping that in there.
You got the seal of approval.
And she's got a Kiss shirt on. Bam, look at that. I'm intuitive and psychic.
Exactly. It's that psychic power. So yeah, every Monday we drop on Apple, Google, Spotify, Podbean, and you can listen to us talk about musicals. Sometimes I love them, sometimes I don't.
Do you hit the Sprout too? The Buzzsprout?
No, we're Podbean. But we're looking.
I'm not Buzzsprout either. They don't like my show.
No, we're not on that one. I've heard mixed things.
All right. Well, thank you for listening to this episode Out of the Blank. Stay tuned for our next episode.